May Day protests across New York City targeted everything from working conditions to immigration reform.
Since the president of Mexico, Felipe Calderón, in effect declared war on the drug cartels.
Where are we now on immigration reform? And
in a groundbreaking move, the Associated Press, the largest news gathering outlet in the world, will no longer use the term illegal immigrant.
Give illegal immigrants already in the United States a path to citizenship.
Y tercero, Poncho, ya los mexicanos se están dando cuenta que es extremadamente difícil.
In which the United States government allowed guns to be smuggled to Mexican drug runners in order to find out where Mexican drug runners were getting their guns.
What we see in Boston is that we have to fix and modernize our immigration system for lots of reasons.
Which is, we've got to have more effective border security.
78% of North America has access to the internet, according to the Internet World Stats. Americans are updated on the situation surrounding the border, with facts like 11 to 12 million undocumented immigrants are in the United States, and 59% are from Mexico, are now literally at our fingertips. The American dream has spread internationally due to this access. We tend to find our information to be blurred, searching for the true solutions. Does this make our people more aware of issues like the border, or has the seemingly unlimited amount of information created a false light that may have allowed this issue to grow even bigger? Can you tell me where you get most of your news from?
My news, mostly online.
Internet. Mostly on the internet.
I read the Globe and Mail.
CNN. BBC.
Kego 9.
Yahoo.
And Channel 13. Yeah.
I read my Daily Star at times.
Usually my wife, because she watches the news. She's a newsaholic.
Americans, and really anybody, have to realize that, especially in our world today where we're so connected with trade and with the internet and information, and where you can get anywhere in the planet within about 24 hours.
I want to say, like, it should be easier for, like, immigrants to come here if they have, like, the proper documents and they get everything ready and stuff.
We don't live in a vacuum. We can't close our borders and live just in this little island that we would create for ourselves.
Definitely think we need to tighten up on it a little bit in the sense of just making sure we're keeping track of it a little better. But I guess I don't have any problem with the way we're doing it too much. I think they have a right to come here and be here.
We would cease to exist economically. We would become irrelevant.
Because it takes away from people here that are born Americans or what have you, and it's just not fair for us that we need to take care of our families here who were born here.
The only way to really and truly affect the world and make our own lives better is by engaging it, understanding it, and then trying to influence it in the best way possible for our own ends.
Of course, I'm kind of like both ways, because like immigrants have to come, get their green card, get all that. I understand that, but there's some that come and they work for their families, so I'm kind of in between both.
To cut off from it would be a huge tragedy and a mistake.
The media it's kind of an interesting subject to look at as far as immigration. Especially, it's very timely. I mean, we see that the Associated Press yesterday just announced that they're no longer going to call people illegal immigrants or illegal aliens. They're going to now use undocumented, which I think is more appropriate. I mean, I think it's derogatory to call somebody an illegal or an alien. But the law does call them, if you look at the Immigration Nationality Act, it calls them aliens. And so it's interesting. I mean, the way that the media actually has shifted considerably over the years in its portrayal of undocumented immigrants has been quite interesting. When I first started practicing immigration law, you hardly ever see stories about immigration on the news. I mean, it was once in a while there would be an interesting story. New York Times would do some stories and some local media, but it wasn't really what it is today. We're seeing, the news focusing on, just like more humanitarian aspects of it. What are we going to do with the 11 million people who are in this country?
Pues si nos vamos por los indocumentados.
Are we going to talk about the illegal, the undocumented?
Es el sueño ideal, van. Pero, por ejemplo, nosotros como fronterizos, o sea, vemos más allá de lo que le dicen en el sur. O sea, nosotros vemos más de que ahorita no hay trabajo aquí en Estados Unidos, como nos está afectando a nosotros en México. O sea, vamos parejos en lo de la economía.
Right. Right now, that the problems what she sees is that it's different, the perspectives that they have further in the interior of Mexico than those Mexicans that are living here on the border. That the perspective is that the economies are right now, there aren't any jobs. We know on the border that the U.S. economy is not, we don't have the jobs here, just as well the economy in Mexico, they don't have jobs over there. Entonces,
¿Cómo?
Entonces que eso, and that's why people are crossing. They all have, the American culture is the ideal.
Because we're one of the biggest and most powerful countries in the world, it has unfortunately made a large number of our people pretty self-oriented. They don't tend to look outside the borders, or if they do, they tend to assume that everyone is just like us. Whereas if you come from a country like Iraq or a smaller nation, you're always inundated with images of the United States. And so you see what we project. And quite often what we project are Britney Spears or the pop culture, the things. And so we set these expectations of what it is to them that's really completely false. Not everybody lives like a pop star. Not everybody drinks Coca-Cola or lots of whiskey or all those things all the time, or drives fast cars or any of those things. Think about what you see in the movies, which are sort of a fantastic version of what certain segments of our society are. So they see that. That's the image that many of them have about the United States. They come here with those images in their head. We look at them thinking and expecting them to be like us because, hey, everybody's like the United States or wants to be like the United States. And that sets up friction. We have expectations for what they should be doing and acting, and so do they. And when those expectations aren't met on either side, there's great room for misunderstanding.
Que desgraciadamente, por ejemplo, mira, en el sur del país, aquí en el norte del país, no es tan difícil la economía.
Okay.
Pero nos vamos al sur, Oaxaca, Veracruz, etcétera, Tlaxcala y todo lo que tú quieras para atrás.
Okay, hold on. Necesito transpirar.
Bueno.
Okay, a ver cómo puedo. She's saying, the media and how they present it. Of course, when you're talking about immigration, you're having to talk about the last 50 years, the problems, how this is evolving. But here in the northern part of Mexico, of course, they've got, the economy isn't as severely impacted right now as it is further south into the country of Mexico. Okay.
Sí. Entonces, el problema es allá. Van los que se emigraron de aquí.
Okay, the people that immigrate over here
Sí.
to the United States.
Aquí. Imagínate gente que había antes en su anterior había sido muy pobre, alcanzaron la inmigración con la, ¿te acuerdas? Aquella
La
reforma.
amnistía, la
amnistía. Entonces imagínate, llevas un carro del año y uno anda a caballo.
Yeah, she says,
o burro.
Well,
imagínate qué diferencia es.
And so, in other words, a lot of what happens is that what's presented over there in Mexico isn't so much about the American culture that's taken back from the media, if not by immigrants that have come over, and all of a sudden they show up in the little towns where their relatives are driving around or walking around on a burro or donkey or or horse, and their family members that have immigrated to the United States are coming in with they're visiting in brand new cars. Well, they see that difference.
O sea, esa es la diferencia. El hecho es ese, ¿no? Entonces que yo llego y te presumo mi carro del año. Entonces tú económicamente estabas mejor.
Yeah,
yo ahorita traigo mi carro del año, imagínate. Entonces, bueno, dicen entre ellos, pata rajada no tenía nada y mira, trae carro del año.
Oh, okay.
So
what happens in the Mexican culture is that those of their relatives that have immigrated, when they go back home, well, you can imagine, she's saying, this guy, my friend or neighbor or relative who had nothing, as I don't have anything, is coming back and he's coming in a brand new car, so they get very impressed by that. And then they decide, well, it's worth making the trip north. Okay.
Eso es.
Y los medios de
comunicación, sí hay buenos medios de comunicación, pero los mentados polleros son los que crían una fantasía grandísima.
Right.
O sea,
okay. Hold on. What she's saying is that the Mexican media do put out the real truth about what it is to immigrate, but the mentados, that's a bad word for down, boyeros, okay, the ones that are illegally bringing over, they lie to the people that they're trying to bring over, and they give them a completely different, a lie. They sell them a lie about how easy it is and whatnot.
This is not a simple situation with a simple solution. This is a very multi-tiered problem that has a lot of components to it and needs to be handled in a gingerly fashion, in a way that people can feel as if they're being treated with respect and dignity throughout, because even though there are people here with no documentation, and no legal permission to be here, you have to look at why they came here. You have to realize that they understand they've made a choice that may not have been the right choice, but it was at the time they did it. Many are remorseful for doing what they did, ashamed, but they had to do what they did, to get out of either poverty or to find a job to help their family or to escape persecution.
But we used to run these hills little. We used to take off and play, and our playground were these hills, and when we'd get lost we would look for the water tank and then come home. I can't have my children or grandchildren do that, because right behind this house there's a trail here that's so thick. As a matter of fact, the Border Patrol was here last night. Sensors, thank goodness, they've censored around the home. But we have people that are coming right behind the house, and not all of them are people looking for work. Many of them, too, are those that are transporting drugs. And literally saw these guys pushing the bales, 15 of them, right here above this little house. And remember, these guys are armed with AK-47s and every gun known to man. They're better armed than even our law enforcement, and they're much more better armed than I am. Because these are the same people that would come when I was growing up, stop by. You'd see them every year. They'd come and work on the fields, and then they'd stop by on their way back. They'd obviously get fed. My father, I remember my dad talking, they were first name basis. It was a constant, it was a flow, it was really true migration. Because immigration or migration infers that you migrate someplace like birds, but you migrate back. That you're migrating, you're moving, constantly you're moving north or south, but you're moving. It's not residency. That didn't happen then. People would come over, work in the fields or work on other agricultural, whether it was a ranch or farm, and then go back. Take their money to help support their families. Now it's gotten to the point where there is those drug runners that they're running drugs, that they're high on coke or speed or whatever it is to get these 50-pound bundles over during the night. They're crazed. They will break in. They will hurt you. And there's a lot of bandits now that are on the border that are raping their own people, which is really, they come across, they lay in wait, and they'll rape women. Because as I said, I've had, was it one or two? Two women that have come here raped, that we've had to, there's been dead bodies found out there. It's a real horrific place. I believe in the laws of the United States, but by the same token, I think we're all human. When people are hungry, you feed them. When people are thirsty, you provide water. When people are hurt, you provide attention, the medical attention that's needed. We all, whether you're a politician, you would do whatever is right and how you would want it to be done to you. If you took the golden rule and just simply thought, how would I want to handle this? The same thing, how would you want to be treated? If it were you, I guess what I'm looking for, I would look for is a lot more empathy. Empathy. But by the same token, understanding that empathy does not mean surrender. You don't give up your rights. You don't give up what makes America, the United States, the country that it is. You fertilize, make it stronger, you know what I mean, and by protecting its laws. But when you're in a situation like this, then, how would you like to live? How would you like to be treated? And I'd react that way. I'd react that way. Do you see what I'm saying? If I had anything to do saying anything, I'd ask for that empathy. But I would also ask for the strength. Many times I think that internationally, many times the things that we as a country do is that we call it humanitarian efforts. Is it really? We don't follow up to make sure that those funds or those things are going to the people themselves that we're supposed to be helping.
We may never as a collective whole decide on the right solution for our problem of immigration, but we can always look back and see how we would want to be treated as human beings. We need to inform ourselves not just by accessing the clutter the internet and news means provide, but actually going out to the issues and seeing firsthand. See the people who are affected on both sides of the coin, and create the ideologies based on those experiences. If we do this, we will find ourselves understanding the true issues and allow us to see the true light.